Uh, Good evening, class. So 5:30, and today I'm going to continue with the next topic, and that is JDBC, Java Database Connectivity. Before that, whatever I uploaded in a respective file section, so you go through that. So all 18 sessions video I have uploaded. Okay, you will get 5 handling in Java and session video 18 and introduction to Java Swing 16 and 17, event-driven programming. So respective notes in a PDF format I will upload because it will take time to compile that. So video you will get on a time, but the notes I have to compile properly. So I will upload accordingly. Okay. So here we will choose the option database connectivity. Before that, there is a small part is left here, and that is the file reading part. We rush up file reading part in last session. So I'm going to spend 5 minutes for that. So there is a data.csv file and uh, which is already created when we are choosing a file write option. Okay, so in data CSV file, you are storing these 4 records. Okay, and I'm going to read that record through the concept called as a file reading. So, there is a file class, and you can open the file class here as a data CSV file. And, the scanner we already use for inputting system.in. But here we are taking this as a data CSV file as an input file. Okay, so my file object is referring data CSV file, and I'm taking this as an input here. Okay, so data reader is a scanner object, and it will read the file unless it's read at last line. So it's going to read the file one after another unless it reach at what the last file. So if you see, my file is there located in hard drive. Okay, and uh, so it has n number of what the lines. So every time my data reader is going to read the information line by line. Okay, and so this is goes up to when it reach at what the last line is. Okay, so when you are using this, okay, so this is a reference we are actually taking when we are giving a reference as a file object. So this is the name of what the file object, the name of file object is, we call this as a small file. Okay, so this is my file, okay, which is referred as an reference to this particular location where the file is, okay, available. And now there is a data reader. Okay, and data reader is another object, and that object is having the, I can say, a reference to the first line here. Okay, so it's going to refer the first line, and it's keep on reading the information unless it will reach at what the last line. So there is a has line, uh, I can say has line concept means method are there, and in that method it's going to read the data reader is keep on reading the information from top to bottom unless it will reach the last, I can say, uh, the last line of what the object. Okay, so there is a has line. Okay, so has line is a method, and if you see has next line is a method. So it's going to read every time the next line. Okay, uh, and it is in looping format. Okay, unless and until the informations are reach at the last line, it's keep on reading the information. Okay, from section. it is in loop format. Okay, just keep on uh, reading the file unless it will reach at what the last part. So while reading the data, so I'm uh, taking the line information in another object, and that object is named as the file data. Okay, so this is another object who are storing the information line by line. Okay, so file data is another object where it's whatever the information are there that will transfer the information to the file data line by line. Okay. So this is my while data reader is reading the line by line, and at that time my file data is collecting the data. Okay, in a line by line, so it's collecting a data. Okay, collecting data line by line here. So line, and it gets stored inside the file data. So each line is going to store, okay, as a data here. Okay, and every time that file data value is actually taking line by line, and again it's a looping, so it's keep on uh, reading line by line. So while reading the information, every time the data is also collecting, the whole file is get collected to some other string builder object. So there is another object, okay, who are storing the information, okay, one after another, and that is string builder here. So I'm just showing another object who are keep on collecting a data one after another, line by line. So this is a string builder object which keep on reading the information line by line here, like this. Okay, and uh, so each information line are collected by string builder here. So if you see, string builder is collecting a file data here one after another. Okay. So this is my SB string builder here. Okay, and this string builder is there. Okay, and the string builder is there. And when you are using this, okay. Uh, so when you are using this, okay, at that time the uh, all those data are get collected through a string builder. So if you see the string builder, SB is my string builder option, and it's appending the data here. So if you see, this is my string builder here. Okay, and that string builder is building the entire string. SB is my string builder, and then all the data are get collected by choosing append. Okay, so here my entire data is get collected in the form of append, and then I'm setting this appended data and converting it into string here. So these data is saved across the my text area. Okay. And that text area name is output here. Okay, so if you see, my text area name is output. Okay, and that data is get stored to my output. So in this way we read the file. So if you see, output is my text area kind of an object. So if you see, this is jtext area, which is output object here. So when I'm running this file, at that time a reading is taking place in this. Okay, so if you run this program, Mm, Now I already have a file, so I'm just clicking on the read file. So that read file will there, okay, in data CSV, and that file is what gets stored. Okay. Mm. So now mm, that is tutorial number 5. Okay. Sorry, tutorial number 4. Now I'm going to explain tutorial number 5, that is database connectivity, and we are going to use the database here and storing the data inside the uh, file. Instead of file, we are storing a data inside a database. Okay, so suppose this is my data. When I click on insert, so it's going to insert a data into the respective file. So this is my database connectivity which I'm going to show, and this is user interface. So if you see the user interface here, okay, and uh, how user interface is using um, to store the information. So what is database connectivity? First, understand a database connectivity, okay, in any programming language. I'm not talking about, as I told you, everything. Whenever I explain the information, I always give the reference of other languages. So it is common. The concept is common here. Okay, so whenever you are using any kind of creating any kind of user interface here. Okay, so suppose this is my user interface here. Okay, which I'm using this. So this is my user interface, and in that user interface, okay, there is a GUI, and when the user are storing the information, it always stores inside the variable, okay, initial. So if you look at that, mm, so this is my front end. The people calling this as a front end here. So you can design front end in any uh, area, okay. Means any programming language, you can create a front end. Okay. So if you are talking about the front end in uh, web technology, then your front end is HTML page. Okay. So this is your front end, and there is a back end also. Okay. And that back end is nothing but your database. Okay, where you are using the any popular database like Oracle, MySQL, MS SQL. Okay, so this is a backend. Okay, and this backend is having n number of what the tables. So that information they can store inside in the form of what the tables here. Okay, so these tables are nothing but it is a group of records, I can say. Okay, and n number of tables and relational table relations are available with each other. So this is my table here. So n number of tables I have. Okay, and there is a relational database. So one table can be related with another table here. Okay, and you can create n number of user to what to access that table. So this is backend, and the front end and backend are uh, actually initially they are connect with each other with something in between, and that is nothing but a database connectivity. So every programming language is providing some arrangement as a component. Okay, so that is something called as a database connectivity component. So I'm choosing this is database connector. So database connector is responsible for connecting the front end to the backend here. Okay. So every database connector is different according to the technology. So the front end is actually taking help of database connector, and via that is going to connect, okay, from here to here. Okay. So Java, and we are using a front end here. You can use a front end for as a Swing or AWT. Okay, so Swing and AWT are the desktop application, but we are thinking about HTML. Okay, and that is client side. You can create HTML, JSP, and servlet that you are going to learn in the advanced Java. Okay, all these are the front end where the people are using a web technology. People are creating a desktop application. At that time, people are using a respective what the front end here. Okay. And they design a front end graphical user interface as per their requirement. Okay, and uh, the Java is using these you can say two things as a front end here. And in backend, you are allowed to use any kind of what in the database. Okay, so there is Oracle, there is a MySQL. Okay, and there is a uh, even simple txt file also you can use as a uh, database here. But txt file are not secure, and that's why the people are not using, and that is the reason we require the secure database. We are not using a txt file because anyone can open. We see that there is no security of .csv file. Anyone can use and open in a notepad, and they can see the database content here. Okay, so there is a Oracle, there is a Sybase, Ingres, and even if you are using a Microsoft, then SQL, MS SQL are there. So MySQL, Oracle, MS SQL are there, and there is a in backend nowadays, people are using MongoDB as an unstructured database. It's a popular database right now. Okay, so it depends upon your wish which database you are going to use to store the information which is available in front end. So user is giving a input, okay, and that input is get stored inside the backend, okay, and there is a something in between, okay, and that is a database connector or database connectivity object here. Okay, so I'm just saying it is a database connectivity object here. Okay, so Java is using Java database connectivity object called as a JDBC. Okay, and JDBC stands for Java database connectivity. Okay, J stands for Java, C stands for DB stands for database, and C stands for connectivity. So it's a Java database connectivity. It has four kind of what the driver. Okay, and those driver are so if you are using JDBC Java database connected, there are four types of driver. Okay, and those four types of driver are type 1 driver, type 2 driver, type 3 driver, and type 4 driver. So these are the type 1, type 2, type 3, type 4 driver. So is as per your wish, which driver you are going to use it. Okay, so all drivers are used for making a connection between the front end and the back end. Okay, so this is type 1 and type 2, type 3, type 4 driver. And if you are choosing this four, what is the difference between these four kind of the driver? Okay, so the first one is I can say it is a testing driver. Professionally, no one is using this. Okay, but in college level, you people are using this. Okay, driver that is called as a type 1 driver. But when you are working as a software engineer, okay, so all the peoples are now the people are not using a type 1 driver, and it is even removed from the Java first Java 8 version. From Java 8 version onwards, all this type 1 driver is get removed. So what are those driver? What is the role of those driver, and what is the advantage and disadvantage of those driver here? So we are going to check directly a type 4 driver here, and if you see, this is a right driver, I can say, and you have to check this. This right driver, and this has a limitation type 1 type, and this is a pure driver, and according to the database, each time the drivers are so you if you want to take the details of these drivers, so these drivers are the first type 1 driver are known as the JDBC ODBC driver, bridge driver, and then second is native driver, third is network protocol driver, and fourth one is thin driver. I'm talking about thin driver here. So if you see, this is a API Java application, and this is driver, and this is a database here. Okay, and it has a Java SQL package which actually using this kind of what the interfaces. So there is a driver. You know what is interface? Interface is a collection of what the abstract method I already explained. So there is a driver interface, connection interface, statement interface, prepared statement interface, callable statement interface, result set interface, result set data interface, and database metadata interface, and row set interface are there. And these are the class we are going to use driver manager class only for initial layer. So block class, clock class, and type class also there. Okay. So if you see these 4 type of driver, okay. So I'm just taking a fast review. So this is JDBC, which is calling JDBC and ODBC driver. Okay, and here you supposed to put the library, vendor library database, and then database connectivity is available there. Okay, and it is disadvantage is it is written creating in C++. Okay, and that's why it is not a pure, and that's why you have to configure everything on the client side. Okay, so it is not recommended, it is for testing only. So if you have millions of uh, clients, and you are creating such kind of part application, so you are not going to visit or write a script to configure the ODBC driver and visit to each and every client and configure their machine. Okay, it is not possible. Okay, so that's why it is removed from the Java version. Okay, then there is a native driver, and in native driver, so if you see, there is a native API driver where you are choosing the vendor database library from it, and it is upgrade version of JDBC ODBC. Okay, and this native driver needs to be installed on each client machine, and vendor client library needs to be installed on a client machine. Okay, then network protocol driver. So you require a separate middleware, separate server, a set a dedicated server where the information are get stored here, and that is the reason people are not willing to uh, use that driver. And therefore, the last one, that is stream driver. So every time that train driver is available with a particular, uh, I can say the each technology is providing the driver, and you can use this inside your application. So let me show the database connectivity here by using MySQL. So we are going to see the MySQL, and for that you have to install XAMPP server here. So XAMPP is a web server, and in that web server, you have to start the services here, Apache and MySQL. So they are giving a MySQL database in the background here. Okay, so I'm starting my browser here and want to show a local host, and it will take me to my PHP MyAdmin. When I click on PHP MyAdmin, it will show me the MySQL database. Okay. So if you see this particular database, okay, here, so n number of database are there. Okay, you can create n number of database here. So this is my database, MyDB, MySQL, Project DB, Test, and WordPress. So I'm going to create a database called as a MSME here. Okay, so this is my database which I'm creating, this MSME batch, and that's why I'm creating a database as a MSME. And I'm going to create a table, which is the table which I'm expecting, that is a roll number, name, age, and percentage. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to create a table called as a student, and there are 4 columns, and I'm clicking on go here. So it's going to create a structure. The first is roll number here. So I'm choosing a roll number of integer type. And then I'm going to write a name, and that is a data type which I'm choosing varchar here, and size is 30. And next is age, that is also int. I don't need to mention a size here. And then percentage here. So I'm choosing a percentage, PER, or I may write a percentage, and choosing a database as a double. Okay, so you can set a primary key as a roll number. Okay, so there is a auto increment part here. So when you click on AI auto increment part, and when you are choosing a primary key here, they you can save these as a database structure. So this is my database structure now, which has a roll number, name, age, and this key is showing that it is a primary key here. Okay, and name, age, and person. Here I'm considering that you know what is database, and you know primary key, you know foreign key, and you know different kind of what the key constraint is. Okay, so or otherwise you learn from the basic funda of what the database in your respective class. Okay, so now my tutorial number 5, where I'm going to create the database connectivity for the various application. Okay, and now uh, what I'm choosing here. Okay, here I'm selecting the insert, update, and delete and exit part application. Okay, and how I'm doing there. So there are 4 steps. So if you see the database connectivity again, and now you are running this application. So I'm just copying it and pasting it. Okay. So what I need here, I need the database here. So I'm selecting my entire object. Okay. My database object here, and these are the steps. What steps I'm using? So 5 steps you are supposed to use here. Okay, and what are those steps here? If you see, there are 5 steps of connection, and those are nothing but you have to register a driver, you have to get a connection, then create statement, execute query, and close connection. So all these are steps you are going to use here. Okay, how to register a driver class and what class you have to use, and uh, uh, select from that. So let us see. I'm using the uh, database connectivity object here, and clicking on OK option, and ungrouping it here. Okay, and that okay, and if you see, there is a one connection interface who is responsible for the making a connection between the front end and a back end. Okay, and so you are going to create a connection, Okay, and after making a connection, what kind of information you are going to send here? So connection object always required the information what kind of driver they are going to use here. Okay, so connection always required a type of driver here, and you have to mention the what kind of driver they are using here. Okay, so this is a type driver you are going to ask. Okay, so I'm choosing a type driver here. Okay, so I'm going to use a type 4 driver in JDBC. So this is my JDBC. So when the connections is established here, so now means now Java is ready for accepting the information which is coming from the JDBC is ready for accepting the information which is coming as an input here. Okay. So after creating a connection object, you are going to create something called as a statement object here. Okay. So what is the use of statement object here? So statement object is actually firing a query. Okay. And the statement object is responsible for firing a query here. So the query is fired by a statement object to the database here. Okay. So the second part is you have to create a statement object, and that statement object is firing the query here. Okay. And so once you fire a query, okay, SQL query, actually it is a SQL query, and that SQL query is based on four type of query we are using in SQL. Okay, and that is nothing but insert. Uh, the first one is select and then insert. Okay, and update and delete here. Okay, so all these are four queries we are using in okay SQL. So if you see insert, update, delete are the queries the people are using for firing the SQL. And once the query is fired to the respective database, so it's going to generate the result, okay, of query. So it's generating a result here, and that result is collected by some other object. Okay, and so it will generate a result which is fired by a query here. So it's generating a result, and that result is collected by some another object, and that object is called as a result set object. Okay, so the result is sent across the result set object. Okay, and this is a result set object here. Okay, and this result set object is responsible for binding the result. Okay, so it's binding the result to the front end. Okay, so whatever the query you are firing, okay, here as an input, so it's going to bind that result here to the respective output. You can use this text part as an input as well as output here. Okay, so once the data is get okay in here uh, execute, then you want to show some output here, you can show the output in some other text boxes or some other table kind of one data. So all these are steps I'm talking about. Okay, so this is first step where you are going to create a connection object, and then you required to tell what kind of type driver you are using here. Okay, because connection object, before connection object you have to tell the what kind of driver you are using. That's why I'm using first A and first A. Then you are going to create a statement object here. Okay, so that is a second part. And then you are going to create the third part. You are firing the query, okay, here, and that query is get fired, and it will generate the results set here object, okay. And then you are binding the result set. So you are fetching a data to the front end by using a result set object. Okay, so let us see what kind of database connectivity we are using. Okay, so there is insert record. If you see in tutorial number 5, uh, there is a button called as a insert button. So I'm choosing a button called as a btn add here. So this is my button, which is called as a button add here. So I'm choosing btn add and want to use btn add here. Okay, and using add action listener here, and say this. And before that, I have to implement action listener in this class. Okay, so I'm choosing implement action listener. Okay, and using action listener here, we are okay adding the body of which class, the abstract method here. So abstract method empty body is get added here and what. So this action perform is a abstract method here. So I'm just deleting the exception handler here. And I know there are 4. So inserting record is there, and then updating record. Then there is a these are 3 activities which I supposed to do here in tutorial 4. So if you see, insert, update, delete are there. So insert, update, delete, and exit. So there is a exiting from exit application. So we already learned exit part. Okay, exit application. So all these are comments for my reference. Okay. So now I'm using my if condition and say e object, and there is something called as a data source. Okay, and my source is nothing but btn add. Okay. This is the body of my btn. Okay, so if you see, why it's not showing. Let me check my button add. I have to okay put declaration. I have to do okay outside the constructor. Then it make available to my all other classes. So initially, whatever declaration I have done here, I have to bring these outside the constructor. Now look at the thing, the last part. Now it's button get added is available. So I'm choosing the another part, that is btn. The next class is something called as a btn update and then btn delete. So I'm going to add btn update dot add action listener. Okay, and it's and then btn delete, then add action listener, this, and btn exit dot add action listener. Okay, and then there is a okay btn add delete. here and between updating. And the last one is between exit. And now we are writing a system dot exit and 0. So this is for exiting what the application. So if you click on that tutorial and you want to exit the application, you just click on exit, so it automatically exit that. Now I want to choose a between add here. Okay, and whenever I use, so inserting record will taking place here. So I want to create all connection object and all other stuff here where I can insert the record. So I'm going to write those steps, step 1, step 2, step 3, and step 4. On those 4 steps which I'm talking about here. So step 1 is creating a connection object. And before that, whenever I use the connection object here, so I have to write and create a connection interface CON here. Okay, so if you see, this is an interface of Java SQL connection, and you can create the object of what the connection. So I create a object of connection, so which I already explained here. Okay, so whenever you are going to create a connection object that is responsible for making a connection. So when you are choosing CON, so there is a class called as a driver manager. Okay, and which has the various what uh, the get connection method here. So there is a get connection where you are supposed to write the URL. Okay, and you are going to use the username and the password, okay, to create the connection. So whenever you are using this, you should use a get connection. But before that, you have to know. So I'm choosing a get connection here, okay, and get connection will require kind of what the data. So I'm going to create the all these are string kind of URL. Okay, second is username, third is password. And I want to pass this here URL, username, password. So connection is always taking place when you are using this method. Okay. So they are saying you have to initialize URL, username, password. So I have to write this value, but initially I'm choosing a null value. Okay, I will replace this with the new one, and from where you will get that value, you will check after. Okay, so let me show that. Okay, so it's saying that you should use try and catch block, and you surrounded it with try and catch and show the SQL exception here. If the things are not available, URL is not available, then it will print some error message here. That it's throwing the SQL exception, and connection fail kind of what exception you may use here when the people are choosing. So if I'm writing J option pan, I'm using show message dialog box. I write this and I can write the message here, and the message is connection failed. Okay. If something is not working, then it will show this message. Okay, I don't want uh, this logger here, so it's going to show me this option here. If the connection are not proper. So whenever I click on add button, so it's going to take a URL, username, and a password. So where you will get URL, username, and a password here. Okay, so if you see, that every database which we shown here that have username here. So if you click on that, so n number of users account I have here. Okay, I have created n number of users account. I created my user account as a Bhanudas, or by default it is a root. So you are allowed to use a root here, but it is not recommended to use. But a similar kind of username I already created, and I'm giving all privileges. So if you want to create your own user, you can create a user. Suppose there is some ABC user I'm creating here, and I'm giving some password. ABC is already there. I'm giving XYZ user. Okay, and in XYZ, I'm giving a password as a XYZ123. Okay, and here XYZ123. Saying very weak password, so I'm adding @ plus here. Okay, here also I'm using @ plus, and they want X capital here. So I'm choosing X capital here. Still, it is very weak. So XYZ 123 @. Okay, still it is weak. So I'm taking my own 123 plus. So okay, I will show. The username is the password is I am using root 123 plus. Okay, you can give any username. I'm creating this user as a XY user, and I'm giving all the privileges. So I'm choosing check all. Okay, and I can click on go, and it will create the user called as a XYZ. So if you look at the user account here, so now in database and the user account, so XYZ is created, and you can use in any server here. Percentage means any server. Okay, not a specific server. So I'm using my own username and the password here. So or XYZ. So I'm using XYZ as a username here. Okay, and the password is root123 plus. Okay, and what is this string you are? So it is all are in double quotes. So I have to put it is a string kind, and therefore I have to put in double quotes here. Okay, and what is the string URL? String URL you will get inside the services here. So if you choose a database, it will show what kind of database you have. Okay, so it's showing that you have a JDBC database here, MySQL type, and all database information you will get here. So I'm talking about the database MSM here. So I'm connecting this database as a MSM database. So it's asking me about the root. Okay, so I'm using a root as a password. So if you look at that, so this is my MSME database, and which has a table, and the name of the table is what the student, which has roll number, name, age, and percentage. So I have to use this URL. So if you choose a properties here, that property they are giving the database URL here. You look at this. Okay, so you are allowed to use this database up to here. You don't need to take after the question mark part. So this is called as a uh, parameter here. Okay, you are passing to the database. So we are not passing any parameter to the base. I'm pressing Control C here. So once I press a Control C, I can write the URL here. So this is my JDBC colon MySQL colon localhost colon 3306, and the name of database is MSN here. So if you look at my diagram here, so this is my MSME database. Okay, so you can see that this is a name of database which is MSME, and the table name is there, and that is the name of table is what the student. So database is a collection of user, is a collection of a table, is a collection of the triggers, is a collection of cursor, is a collection of the store procedure. Okay, so your database contain n number of what the things here. Okay, So again, I request you to learn a database basic here, so you will understood that what is there inside. So I have created JDBC URL step creating connection object. So whenever I create a connection object, so I need to create a class for the same here. Okay, unless and until if you are not creating a class object here, you are not going to use this. So there is a class dot for name here. Okay, and you are supposed to use this the actual use of what this class, what kind of class you are going to use inside your application. So the name of the class is important here, which you are using. And so again, choose a property, and this is your driver class. And if you look at that, this is my driver car com mysql.jdbc driver. So I'm going to use this a driver class here, and you have to mention that it is a driver class you are going to use. Okay. And for that you have to use add catch clause here, which is if the class is not found in your uh, uh, library, then it will not insert in your any kind of water record. So all this stuff you require. So whatever I'm training, that this is a type 1 type 4 driver. It is actually you are talking about the class name. Okay, you are giving the class name, what kind of driver you are using. Okay, so I'm using a MySQL driver of type 4 here. Okay, so in this case we are using MySQL. Okay, and there is a package called as a com.mysql. So package name always comes with the it is always in a reversal form. It's a company name come first, and then mysql.com is name of what the website or company I can say. And package always written in a reverse form. Okay, so people are start from com.mysql and the name of what the object. So the name of object is jdbc driver. So I'm choosing jdbc dot driver. So this is a driver which I'm going to use inside my MySQL. So where you will get this JDBC driver. So whatever the Java you have, so this is a database connectivity. Okay, I'm showing. This is a concept visualization. I'm calling this as a CV here. Okay. So once you write step one, and you are creating the connection object, you are creating the uh, class object here. Okay, and driver object, and you have to install this particular object here. Okay, in your library. So there is a library available. Okay, and n number of libraries you are adding. So if you look at that, so there is no such library available which giving you a package of driver. So you have to download from Google here. So you can refer any kind of what. So if you say JDBC MySQL connection driver, and you want to ask this for a download here, it will take you to the uh, download connector JMySQL developers one here. Okay, and so it's giving me a n number of versions of my SQL driver here. Okay, so these are the various what the drivers available, and you can check in archives. Okay, and you can find out the particular platform. Okay, for this because it's showing the Windows platform here. Okay, and in that Windows platform, Microsoft Windows platform, this driver they are giving. it's saying that you can download, and they are choosing an installation part here. Okay, but I'm not recommending you this to use this directly. You are going to use a jar file for the same. Okay, so instead of going somewhere here, you can look for a jar file here, and in developer zone again they are giving me this part. So this is C file or jar file they are. So I'm looking for so this is a jar file. Okay, and go to download page. Maybe I installer I don't want. Check. This is also MSI installer because let me check. I even jar file developer MySQL all jar downloads. I will take from here. Okay. So looking for type 4 driver version 8. Okay. So this I'm downloading from here. Okay, and this is my jar file. So I'm using remains MSNE code, and this is my jar file. Okay. So when I'm going to add this at that time, I think if you are not properly choose, then actually it's create a problem uh, to make connection. So again, I'm choosing this jar file from Java point. Okay, let me check. Mm, because they are giving me a proper path. So JDBC Java I'm choosing it, and I want to select the jar file from there only. Okay, so they are giving me a proper driver here, path of driver of JDBC. Let me check. So they are giving a very good link, and I'm using that only. Mm, where it is. Yeah, I don't want Oracle because I want the database connectivity of MySQL here. Mm, so this is JDBC, ODBC. I'm choosing this connector. So they are saying com.mysql JDBC, and we are looking for. I already explained what is URL, username, and the password, and the driver here. So I'm looking for the link which they are giving me. Okay, so this is my. I'm expecting this. This is my MySQL connector. Okay, so I'm using this jar file. Okay, so you also download it from there. This is because I taste and find it's working properly, and I'm going to add here. So I'm choosing add library here. Okay, or add jar, not library. So I'm going to add my jar file. Okay, so once you click on add a jar file, so they are asking for a jar file. So we'll stop and continue in a next class. Okay, that how to do a connectivity because 629 is there, and I will explain tomorrow this part. Okay, so thank you for yeah. So I'm stopping here. stopping the